Well, good evening and welcome to you. As always, it's a blessing and a gift to come together in this way. And so I bow before your divinity, your goodness, your sincerity. And thank you. Thank you for joining me. So, in a couple weeks from now at Kripalu, we'll be having our big retreat of the year, July 13th through the 18th. There's details on the website about it, but the title of the retreat is Awakening the Heart. I love this retreat because for me, the spiritual path has always been about the heart. It's always been about the heart. And there's different times on the journey where I really focused in on peace, spaciousness, emptiness, freedom, truth, strength. But when you walk through the doorway of the heart is something, of course, that includes everything. The true heart. The emotional heart likes things that feel good and rejects things that doesn't feel good. But the true heart demands that we get to know strength, that we get to know love, that we get to know truth, compassion, spaciousness, and peace. And so I encourage you, if it's possible, to please join us. I'll assure you, it'll be a very powerful, intense, grace-filled retreat. And so details are on our website, and this is 2025 for those listening at a later date. Okay, those are the big announcements. Yeah, that's everything. That's everything. So let us start by shutting down our eyes and feeling into our hearts right now. Allowing ourselves to let go of any of the busyness of the day, or the weekend. I'm going to invite us to drop through any emotionality in the heart, and for us to come together in this space of depth, space of depth. So technically or practically speaking, if you feel on the surface of your chest, that's where the emotional nature lives. If you journey inward toward the spine, you begin to experience this quiet depth. This gentle sense of love. A deep love. A love that has outlived all the difficult experiences of life. And together as a song, I'm going to invite us to take a deep breath and anchor more fully here in the heart. As we come together each week, it's important for us to reestablish our connection, our commitment, ultimately this understanding that what I am is this light, is this love, this quiet depth. Most fundamental aspect of your being, of your soul, is this quiet depth. And so I invite you to cast your anchor here. to both root in and simultaneously open up. And with the energy of awakening, you come into the heart. The heart starts to grow and expand. It has this feeling of coming home. And simultaneously merging with our highest truth. And merging with God. And as we begin to open here, you might notice the edges of your body, of your psyche, of your mind softening. And beginning to feel a sense of unity. Unity with all of life. Unity. Breathing in and breathing out. Deepening and opening. Deepening and opening. And if there's any aspect of your being that is suffering, I invite us to include this as well. So if we struggle with criticism or judgment, or angst or fear, we struggle with unworthiness or feeling beat down or beat up by life, let's include this aspect for love. Is continually embracing, continually including. And so even though it might be uncomfortable, even though sometimes we like to just transcend our human limitations, love does not transcend, it includes, it embraces. And eventually it heals all wounds. And if there's something here that feels unhealable, it's just a sign that we need some more time with this. Some more time to breathe, to feel, to soften, to open. And to include. To include. And so just taking a moment and feeling this love throughout the heart. Expand and include the throat chakra, the space of the mind, the crown. Welcoming the grace of God as we open the crown more fully. And simultaneously inviting this love to overflow in the heart, pour into the power centers of the solar plexus and the hara, welcoming love, welcoming radiance. And finally, inviting this love to overflow to our hips and our legs, our feet, pouring into the earth. And yet we come to see this funny thing happens is we open with love, as we lead with love. Life responds. We open to life, and life begins to open to us. And at some point, as the heart fully opens, it's hard to tell. Am I opening to God? Is God opening to me? Am I opening to life? The hugeness of this moment, or is the hugeness of this moment opening to me? And so we allow it to unfold. We invite this dance to continue. And if you like, you can open your eyes. And if you like, you can keep them closed. Tonight, I wanted to spend a little bit of time speaking about resilience. Resilience is a quality of the heart that's often overlooked. That's often overlooked. Resilience is a quality that every great yogi or every great Buddha, every good and true Christian possesses. Any great spiritual being who comes to planet Earth at some point must know, must possess, must embody this quality of resilience. Now, we all have resistance. I've spoken much about resistance in the past. Resistance is a program that life has given us. And it's a basic program that says, I want to feel good. And if I don't feel good in whatever environment I'm in or whoever I'm with, I shall automatically resist. And it's something that rules our world. It's the reason why we're still fighting with each other here on planet Earth. We're still bombing each other. But we still talk about war. So I have my way, you have your way. We resist each other. And then there's a fight. With resilience, we come to see. We come to know in our bones that you cannot harm me and I cannot harm you. The depth of our being. On the surface, we can really harm each other. I came home from jiu-jitsu the other day and I had something on my face. I don't know if I still have it, but one of my friends harmed me. But, in order to practice martial arts, you have to have resilience. It's an insane thing to do without resilience. Sometimes we show up without resilience, and we learn resilience through getting beat up time and time again and realizing, oh, I'm okay. I really am okay. In the depth of my being, I am okay. There's a quiet strength, a quiet nobility that knows I am okay. The beautiful thing I like about resilience is it comes with a sweet quality. It's like a beautiful mix of both strength and innocence. Beautiful mix of strength and innocence. Resilience is the thing that carries us on our most difficult days, our most difficult experiences. Now, last night, I had an unexpected guest. My brother, all of a sudden, flew into town, and I was really happy to see him. And, we sat out on the back deck today after doing some yard work together. And, my brother, we used to live here together in Durango. And then at some point, he moved away. He moved away actually because of a great tragedy that had happened to him. And anyways, he moved away, and because he's resilient, he built a new life. And he's come back, and he was just asking me about, like, hey, how are all the old guys doing, like our old friends? And when you live somewhere for a long time, like I've been here 30 some years now, I guess, you and your friends will go through a lot of things together, and sometimes your friends will go through a lot of things on their own. And as we age, you can see it, on people's faces and their bodies. And, especially like, I have a lot of friends who are like, I've always had friends who are, pretty rough. I've always been pretty rough too, but, friends who drink and who have hard lives and, maybe dabbled with, in and out of addiction and that type of thing. And, lived on mountainsides and, battled with snow and all this kind of thing. And we're just going through. He was just asking me about all the old guys, and I was kind of going through and giving them an update. And then, also, he brought me news that another old friend had recently died. And again, that's always heartbreaking to hear. Heartbreaking to hear. But when we see life through the lens of resilience, it's interesting because the human heart can break. Emotions can flare up. We can be through a lot. We can have great triumphs and then great defeats and lose fortunes or or maybe just have no money and keep losing the no money that we have. Like that happens too. I had that is an experience for a long period of time. But the resilience is the ability to continue to smile, continue to try, to continue to show up, to continue to open despite realizing that life is hard. That life is hard. This one of my favorite country music singers. I should be able to say his name, but I'm having a dyslexic moment here. I think it's Zach Bryan. I could have that wrong. Um, but he sings this song about uh, talking about some experience before he knew that life was so hard. Before he knew that life was so hard. And when we have hardness in our life, our ego tends to respond with shutting down. And then in an accompanying sense, of heaviness, of dread, of negativity. If it continues on, it can lead to bitterness or jadedness. And resilience is the perfect antidote for this. It's this faith that says, I'm going to keep breathing, I'm going to keep opening, I'm going to continue to walk this path despite everything that's happened to me, despite it. And if you ever hang out with a great yogi, you're not a yogi who's in their 20s, but a yogi who's lived a full life, who's been beat up, who's experienced great hardship. If you look at them and you see them smile, smile. I'm going to bring out my friend Papa Ramdas here. Papa Ramdas was a great yogi. Here's another picture of him. Great yogi. Papa Ramdas's whole teaching is just a one-liner. I love it. All is wrong. All is wrong. Basically, that means all is God. All is God. Our egoic nature looks out at life and says, this is good, this is bad. I like this, I don't like that. Our political nature might look out and say, oh, it's Trump's fault, it's Biden's fault, it's the other guy's fault, the other side's fault. They're responsible. It just places blame and dismisses any responsibility. It's one of the things I hate so much about the political world. They just attack the other and take no responsibility themselves. With Papa Ramdas, all is God. Good things come, that's God. Bad things come, that is God. Mediocre things, melancholy, boring, huge, empty, free, transformative, lots of food, no food. And you can see this boy. I mean, you see how skinny those arms are. This boy knows starvation. He slept on the streets for many, many years just as a wandering yogi throughout India, in great poverty. And if he was fed, he would say, thank you, Ram. If he wasn't fed, he would say, thank you, Ram. Again, now this is an incredible level of attainment. And in our modern Western psychological societies, I mean, we're not going to tolerate that type of lifestyle. We're going to say, no, I want to work on manifestation or something. So I can feel good all the time. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to, having a healthy empowerment and healthy ability to manifest and create the life that you want. That's a great thing. But tonight we're talking about resiliency, this ability to outlive great difficulty. And we'll see in life that friends will come and go, partners will come and go. Our parents, of course, will come and then go one day. We will come and go. Our four-legged friends will come and go. Everything we see will come and go. Resiliency is this ability. It's actually a quality of our being. Everyone has it, but just not everybody knows it. And that's the thing about spiritual awakening. Everyone has this as a manifest potentiality, possibility, aspect of their nature. But not everyone knows it. Not everyone knows it. It's this quiet quality of strength and innocence that lives on with a gentle sense of hope. A gentle sense of hope. Now, I'll tell you, if you feel that you are lacking in resiliency, well, it's a sign that your body is overworked, overstressed, overburdened by the pain and difficulty of life, the intensity of life. And we need to plug into some great nurturing support. Great nurturing support. So if we feel like we're lacking it, one of the doorways to resiliency is vacation time, a bubble bath, a meditation retreat, a couple of hours of yoga, walking away from the great burdens and consciously choosing to plug into something greater. And for me, a lot of times, my life has been really overwhelming. And I would simply plug into the earth. But plug into the earth. And the beautiful thing about this earth is it's so utterly resilient. I don't know how many extinction events that this planet has been through, but our earth, it just seems to live on. The oceans live on. I want to encourage everyone, if you haven't seen, but there's some beautiful documentaries, even just drone footage of Chernobyl, this site where there's this nuclear reactor that, since imploded and just filled the whole town with toxic radioactive debris. Well, if you see the town now, it's full of life. I mean, the forest has retaken the town of Chernobyl. I mean, no one's living there, but there's animals, there's trees, there's plants. And it's so beautiful to see this quality. It's just this quality of hope. If you live out west and you see forest fires, like forest fire is such a destructive thing. I've lived through many fires. And then afterwards, if you give it a year or two or three, all of a sudden you see this green carpet of grass and new seedlings beginning to grow and bushes and a tree, just a whole another forest growing again. And when we see this, our heart really smiles. And we are reminded that, oh, yes, we are resilient. We are resilient. Great show about the Jewish folks is there's all these Holocaust survivors. They got together at this resort in upstate New York, and it was really just like an old camp that they all pitched in and bought. The resort was called the Four Seasons. I believe maybe the documentary is called The Four Seasons, but it's not, like the Ritz-Carlton Four Seasons. It's just like an old summer camp, but they all got together and they'd come together for, I don't know if it was a couple weeks or maybe a month in the summer, and they'd sing and they'd dance. Despite like living through the Holocaust, like these are people who were in the camps. It's heartbreaking, but also it's so beautiful. And you see some of them, have still really strong egos and they haven't fully forgiven or fully released, fully let go. But again, there's just something there that says, we're just going to do this thing where we just keep showing up and attempting to live together in community and sing and dance and cook and clean. It's one of the great gifts that's at the heart of the human spirit is resiliency. Now, if you ask the thinking mind, should I be hopeful? during a time of crisis or during a time of pain, or when we're on the edge of homelessness. I lived that way for like a decade of my life. I was on the edge of homelessness. It's just crazy. Or maybe a couple of years of my life was really intense, but about 10 years I just lived, in so under the burden of so much debt. It was just like at any moment, I felt like, I just could have ended up on the streets. And if you ask the mind, should I be hopeful? It would be like, hell no. Why would you be hopeful? You look at the news. Why would you be hopeful? Hell no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. What's going on? Oh, it's looking like another war in the Middle East. This guy, he came into office and he said, I'm running on no wars. No wars. Well, guess what? It's like we're already bombing people. It's like insane, just in insanity. This world, the news, our political leadership, it's insane. It's insane. And resiliency is this quality of presence where we say, despite all the craziness, despite everything, despite all the demons outside, despite all the demons inside, despite my shortcomings, my wounds, my shadow, my addictive tendency, my judgmental mind, whatever it is, despite it all, my anger issues, my feeling of just being a victim, of overwhelm, despite it all, I'm choosing to have faith in love. I'm choosing to have faith in God. I'm choosing to have faith in life. That makes no sense at all to the mind. Turn on the news, it's like no faith. Like when I was a kid, every day I thought about nuclear holocausts. It's like I grew up in a military family. The news was on. It was the arms race. We do those drills where you go hide in the basement of the school. We watch the videos of the earth just being obliterated in nuclear holocaust. It would make no sense to have any hope. But there's something in the heart, something in the depth of our being. It says, of course, love is the way. Of course, love will triumph. Of course, the truth will triumph. Of course, peace will triumph. Anyone on planet Earth could argue with that statement. I could list, 1,000 reasons why. It's not the case. But to be on the path, to step on the path, to continue to walk forward, well, that's a movement of resilience. And so for us who are struggling, it's important that we take the time and we help our body, our mind recharge. Recharge. Be reconnected with something that is good, something that is true, something that is beautiful. Because the human mind is inherently negative, and it's wired that way to keep you alive in a dangerous situation. Now, just yesterday, my daughter, my wife, and I, we were on a horseback ride, and the cowgirl who was leading us on the ride, she was up front, and her horse got spooked. And right at that time, her horse got spooked. I was listening kind of up the mountain, and there was a big fella, tromping, tromping, stomping. I don't know what words I'm using tonight. Stomping along in the bushes, just like big guy making a lot of ruckus, big old bear up there. And the horse was really freaking out and turning around and wanting to run back, to the barn. And, but she decided, hey, like, look, we're just going to keep walking forward. and whatever, nothing happened. I mean, you run into bears all the time in Colorado. That's just part of life. To live in the mountains, you have to be resilient. But we have a mind that's trained to scan the environment looking for danger. And then in the modern age, when there's not much danger, that same mind will scan looking often at people's speech, at their mood, at the expressions on their face. And it'll project danger when you see someone with a mean look, or someone has a grumpy attitude, or if someone says something that is politically incorrect or whatever it is. Like this same part of our mind will kind of go and just start to police the world. And we all know this. It shows up just in this sense of controlling nature. I mean, everyone has this, of course, to some degree, some more than others. And with resiliency, there's going to be this quality of strength, quality of innocence, and of course, this quality of trust, of faith, that despite the bear, despite the mountain lion, despite the neighbor who's doesn't like me or whatever it is, or person who cut me off in traffic, despite mother, father, sister, brother abandoning me, I'm choosing to open my heart to love. I'm choosing to open to love. I'm choosing to respond with love. I'm choosing to respond with forgiveness. Now, of course, there's times and a place to set boundaries with people. Resilience doesn't mean we let everyone walk all over us. But ultimately, it's a quality. It sounds silly, but I'm going to say this. It's a quality of survival, of true survival. It's the survival of the soul. And if any of us know a thing or two about our past lives, you see, oh, this soul that I am, it doesn't die. It lives on. It lives on. But for us to really know this in this lifetime on the deepest level, God has to challenge us with our greatest fears, our greatest pain. Because when we're challenged with our greatest fear and we live through that fear, I don't even want to say we overcome it, but when we live through it and realize the thing doesn't kill us, it didn't kill us, even if it did kill us and we wake up in heaven, we realize, oh, I don't actually die. This world is a matrix. I didn't actually die. And with resiliency comes a light-hearted quality. And again, we'll see this in Buddhas, in great yogis, this light-hearted quality that can smile even in the midst of starvation. And Papa Ramdas, he probably would never say, I starved. You just say, all is God, all is God, all is God. And, later in his life, he put on some weight. He put on some weight. A lot of yogis do that. They get that big yogi belly. They put on some weight. And so through good times and bad times, all is God. And with it, you can see like a quiet twinkle in their eyes. And if you ever meet someone who has this quiet twinkle, it's a bizarre thing, because I used to have this experience with my teacher. I'd go and complain to him about how hard my life was. And often he would smile and have this twinkle in his eyes. And if I was, someone who got greatly offended, I'd be like, why is this guy smiling? It seems like he's laughing at my pain. But this twinkle is just this knowingness that, hey, son, I know you're going through something hard, but I know something deeper. I know that you will survive and that you will come out the other side a greater man, a greater man, a greater being of light. And when you come to this type of realization, like when we come to the non-dual realization of resiliency, it's very easy to say all is wrong. From a place of truth, from a place of power, from a place of confidence. Now, before we've lived through great hell, we might say, Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram, Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram. We might be praising God. We might say all is God when we're, on a beautiful yoga retreat and there's money in the bank and, it's more like a yoga vacation or whatever. That's easy to say all is God. Stand on a mountaintop, say all is God. But when we've lived through hell, I know that hell is God challenging us into something greater. Something greater. We see that, oh, look, hell, samsara, for good Buddhists, as we say, Mara, has been our greatest teacher. When we're in our ego psychology, we'd never say that. We'd never say hell is our greatest teacher. We might say something sweet like love is the way, or peace is the way. But in this planet, we learn about the greatest qualities of our being during our most difficult moments. Now that's true if our mind will, if or when, after our mind has fully surrendered. The mind is fully surrendered, but sometimes that takes some time. It takes some time. If the mind is still trying to assert its agenda, well, that means the mind is still in control. When the heart can look at this and say, okay, okay, okay. And so with resiliency comes also this great quality of acceptance. Okay. And it's acceptance that more looks like Christ falling on his knees in the Garden of Gethsemane. It's more like that type of acceptance, not like, oh, I can accept this moment. It's like normally it's an acceptance of feel like we have 8 swords in us and we're going to bleed out. And so we just fall on our knees and say, okay, God, you win. And I'm choosing to continue to open, even as I fall into what might look like my own death. And so anyways, I need to, there's a bunch of questions here. And I want to shift to this, and I want to, I'm going to stay on the same topic to the best of my ability. Hi, Craig. I was wondering if you can speak about betrayal. And in my case, multiple, all happening at the same time. By multiple, I think she means multiple scenes or experiences of betrayal happening all at the same time. This emotional roller coaster is super intense emotionally. I feel like I'm running out of juice. Yeah, good. We've been talking about this. I cycle between rage and with that also the rage of a massive sense of injustice and the desire to fight back. Underneath that heat is grief. And it's very, very deep down at the bottom of an empty well, suggesting abandonment and despair and an ocean of tears. Is this going to last forever? I'll give the quick answer. No, nothing lasts forever. The Buddha's most prolific teachings, everything's impermanent. It will not last forever. The ego's story and the ego's words are always forever and never, always forever and never. So if your ego is saying that, it's the ego's favorite words. It takes this moment and projects it forever, forever, into infinity. Where the truth knows, give it a little bit more time, and Let's listen to Saint Teresa. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. How to be patient with healing from betrayals. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple things. We talked about this a little bit ago. A couple things. How to be patient with healing from betrayal. One thing is often like if we're in a storm of betrayal, if we can remove ourselves from that situation so we don't continually experience it, that's going to be helpful. If we can cut communication, I've had to do this before. I had to cut communication with toxic people in my life who continue to betray me over and over and over again and use me and abuse me. At some point, you have to hit that block button, wherever that is, on Gmail or Facebook or whatever it is, or on the telephone or wherever we're at. We might have to hit that block button. Might have to hit unfriend, unfollow. We need to give ourselves time alone outside of the insanity of life. So that's a good first step. So one step is going to be unhooking from the pain, the trauma, the difficulty, the source of it. And then secondly, and sometimes the source is internally. Sometimes we continue to betray ourselves. Sometimes we put ourselves in situations. Sometimes we give our power away. And so we have to set a boundary there. And then, of course, we need to plug deeply in to something good, something healing, something supportive, someone, something, a community who believes in us. And whether that's the earth, whether that's God, whether that's the communion of saints, if we're part of the Catholic Church, the 10,000 Buddhas, if we're in Ukiah, not the temple of the 10,000 Buddhas, we need to plug into something greater. Greater. And only through plugging in and starting to recharge can we talk about patience. Because when we're worn thin, well, patience is one of the first things that goes. We can't have patience if we're just so overwhelmed and overstimulated. We need to recharge, to regroup. Now, somewhere in there, she also talked about going to battle, like fighting. And there's a time and a place to fight back. Like sometimes, like I've had times in life where it's like, okay, I'm going to fight back. But then when I fought back, the other person started to fight dirtier. And then at some point, it's like, oh, maybe I need a team to help me with my fight. In the Western world, that might be a lawyer. That might be an older brother, an older sister, a best friend, someone, an avenger to come forward. I don't know much about superheroes, so forgive me if I use that in the wrong context. But there's a time when, like for some of us, if we give our power away again and again and again, some of us, the lesson in betrayal is to walk away. For some of us, it's to stand up and to fight back for a short period of time and then move forward. The mistake a lot of people make with anything in life is it becomes a new habitual thing. So some people, when they learn to fight, they just keep fighting. When people learn that they can walk away, they just always walk away. And so we have to be willing to listen to our heart and ask our heart, what is needed in this moment? And sometimes it's forgiveness. At other times, it's the vast view when God was piling on betrayal in every direction, every direction. My children, my wife, my partner, my ex-wife, my family, my friends, my best friends. The best was, this was icing on the cake, when my teacher betrayed me. Now, he didn't really betray me. He just did something that I didn't like. I wanted him to take my side, and he wouldn't take a side. because it wasn't the truth for him to divide himself and pick a side. But I interpreted it as betrayal. And when I saw that, when it was everyone I knew betrayed me, I stopped and I looked up at God and I said, huh, you've got me checkmated here. It was so outrageous. It was so ridiculous. I realized, oh, God is trying to teach me something. Teach me something. So God took me through this whole journey of public humiliation for me to discover, well, resilience. Resilience. And with resilience came this great quality of confidence that allows me to do this job, to be in this seat, to be able to speak from this place. But had I not been through this, had I not been betrayed so deeply, I could say some sweet words about forgiveness, about all is God and this and that. But deep in my being, if we haven't been tested, it's like we do have an aspect of our conscience that says, hey, you haven't really been tested here. And you'll feel a little bit phony, at least a little bit, most people. But after you've been tested and you realize you survived, even if you failed miserably at whatever the test was, you see, oh, I survived, they survived, everyone survived. It's all okay. It's all okay. It truly is okay. Even when it's not okay. Even when it's not. And so sometimes we need the vast view when we've been betrayed. But sometimes we just need to learn how to set boundaries. Sometimes we need to learn how to forgive. Sometimes we need to look in the mirror and realize, oh, people are betraying me because I betrayed them. Sometimes the world's like that. You do something stupid and someone does that same thing to you, and life's a mirror. And life's a mirror. Normally, if we've lived long enough, we realize that I have failed miserably at life. You have failed miserably at life. We've all failed miserably at life. We've all had moments of anger and tantrums and got confused in our mind and been addicted, said the wrong thing, drank the wrong Kool-Aid, whatever. But all human beings have the same mind. The same mind. And therefore, I can ask for forgiveness and simultaneously forgive others because I know being human is so hard. So hard. Okay, move on to the next question here. And sometimes just I'll just say this one last thing about betrayal and resiliency is there's just some things in life, and I hate this teaching because it just shows a great powerlessness in being human. There's just some things that just need to dance themselves out. There's just some things that just need to dance themselves out. Like I had this whole experience with poverty. It went on for like a solid 14 years of my adult life. Let's say like between 18 and whatever that math is, 32. It's like, not only was I broke, I was so in debt, like ridiculous debt, horrific debt. And, at one point, my astrologer just said, Craig, you've come out of um, a 14-year cycle of poverty and debt, but now you're leaving that. And it's just like, there was nothing I could do. No law of attraction, no manifestation. I did it all. I studied it all. I did the worthiness healing work. I did all the work, but just nothing changed until my stars changed. And it's just like, huh, huh, huh. But resiliency can say, okay, like there's just sometimes there's seasons to life. And that's just part of the deal. Part of the deal. Okay. Next question. It's a follow-up from last week's question. Hi, Craig. I know there's an inner father within me, but I feel like the victim. I feel like the victim me slash scared me. I like this slash lazy me always takes over. Any advice on how to channel that inner strength? Or do I just have to Nike it and just do it? Okay. That's funny. Just Nike it. Just do it. Yeah. 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 So this fellow wrote in last week, a father who didn't show up for him, isn't meeting him. He's trying to be vulnerable with his father in the present moment. And his father's just letting him down, all the time. And so I said, I'm going to invite you to be the father to your own self. And so part of being a father, I'm going to make father synonymous with being a man, a true man, synonymous with being an adult. And as an adult, we take responsibility. And so with the Nike logo is just do it. Well, a part of just doing it is knowing that everything is up to you. Now, nothing is up to us also. That's a different teaching, but let's just do it. Let's just stick with this side of it tonight. Everything's up to you. It's up to you to show up, to love yourself, to be kind, to be loving. And the mistake that most people make, or the complaint is people say, but how do I love myself when I don't feel it? When I don't feel it? Well, you try to be kind anyways. You try to be loving. You do acts of kindness from you to you. You meet your body with respect. You honor yourself. You listen to your highest truth. You make yourself number one. You trust in yourself. You believe in yourself. How do I do that, Craig, when I don't feel it? You do it because you know that's the only way forward. What's the other choice? Give up on yourself? What are some choices? I feel like the victim me. Well, we're not going to listen to that voice. The scared me, we cannot listen to fear. The lazy me always takes over. We can't listen to these voices. If we do, we just stay stuck in a chronic state of anxiety. We have to come deep into our heart, deep into some peaceful aspect of our consciousness, and see this human body, this human psychology is suffering. And I need to meet my body with peace, with love, with compassion, with spaciousness. I need to step away and not see this so personally, not take what my father's saying so personally. I have to see my father as a child, to see my humanity as a child, but to see my soul as an adult. See my soul as an adult. I must do this. It's very hard to heal if we don't take responsibility. Now, responsibility doesn't mean everything's your fault. Responsibility means we actively choose to love ourselves, to stand in strength, to stand in power, to stand in peace. We choose to stand in our highest nature, no matter how our human nature feels, no matter what our human nature is experiencing. We choose to step into our highest nature. We choose to step into our highest nature. My teacher used to say this to me all the time. Despite ourselves, despite you, Craig, we're going to continue walking forward. I always thought that was hilarious. Like, despite me, I was like, what does he mean there? Despite me. Despite all the aspects of Craig's ego, all the victim nature, all the unworthiness, all the wounding, all the shadow, all the confusion, all the chaos, all the rage, all the anxiety, whatever. Despite all that, Craig, we're still going to show up every single Wednesday and every single Sunday of the year and all the other days of the week. But we had 2 formal meetings, every week. And it's just like, we're going to come. We're going to come. We're going to show up. And eventually we'll see from the vast view that this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Okay. So the last question of the evening, I came in from Justina. Justina asked a question about politics. I'm going to see if I can do this as cleanly as possible. Cleanly as possible, because politics is so hard to speak about in this modern age, so hard. And one of the reflections that I've seen it's a hilarious thing. It's a brutal thing. It's destroying our country and destroying our world. Is increasingly our world seems to be becoming more and more polarized. Now, the current guy in office isn't helping with that because he's a type 8 on the Enneagram, like in the Enneagram chart. And 8s are fighters. They have big mouths. They tend to be bullies. And that creates a lot of division. That creates a lot of division. Now, the left also has been incredible bullies. Incredible bullies. And it's like, how many of us, and see, there's so many things I can't even talk about because I get censored by YouTube, but I'll just say this, the left can be bullies, the right can be bullies. I look at politics and healing of politics the same way I look at couples counseling. I used to do couples counseling. I hated it. I hated doing couples counseling. I happened to be really good at it, but so people would just keep coming back and they'd send all their friends to me. But I hated it, hated it. The two people would come in and they would tell me everything that's wrong with the other person and not take any responsibility. And it's just a basic truth with couples counseling. The guys, if we're going to heal, we have to say, I'm sorry for what I did. I have to take responsibility. Say, I am sorry. You can't just start with, you are wrong, you are bad. That's all modern politics is. You are wrong, you are bad. The King's protest, you are wrong, you are bad. Justine said, well, what about my voice? I want you to have your voice. I want everyone to have their voice. Everyone should have a voice. In theory, like that's what democracy is. Everyone has a voice. And we have that. We have a vote. Well, unfortunately, it might only come every 4 years. But that's one way. And then we have our representatives. You can email them. I do that all the time. I write long, crafted emails to representatives saying, hey, protect our lands, protect our earth, stand up for the environment, no more wars, this and that. These are things that I write. When I was, super vegan, I'd be like, no factory farms, I should still send those letters, but I've sent so many of them, I'm kind of just lost interest in sending those letters anymore. But anyway, so we use your voice, please, but we always have to ask a question. Whenever we're communicating, is the person I'm communicating with, are they open to feedback? Do they want to hear from me? Are they willing to hear from me? And just like in couples counseling, if we start with, Craig, this woman is crazy. She's crazy. She's a liar. She's a cheater. All she wants is my money. And, if that woman's sitting right there, and then, she'll say, he only cares about work. He's on his phone all the time. He doesn't love me. He just loves my body. He wants me for only one thing. That's a typical couples counseling situation. I heard this story many times. He's always going off to the garage. He's always running away. And then he'll say, all she wants to do is talk, just like typical couple stuff. And it's like, guys, can we find some common ground? But no one listens if we attack them first. If we attack them first, no one listens. You can't expect to get the ear of Donald Trump by calling him a narcissistic king. You can't. It will not work. It will not work. Continuing to try to put him in prison and get him banned from office or whatever that is about. It's like we have to find a way to work together. We have to find a way to go across the aisle. And in regards to them, Enneagram typology, I'm a 9, so I can see all sides very easily. It just comes very easy to me. Just like, oh yeah, I understand the right fully. I understand the left fully. I understand this, that, Green Party, whatever. It's just like so easy for this one. Because hardwired in this one is one who wants to make peace. And in order to make peace in the realm of politics, we might have to learn to listen first. Even where I live, it's so hilarious. I've got full-on Trump supporter on my left and full-on Trump hater on the right. I'd like to call her a Democrat, but it's just like, oh, she just hates Trump. All they do is hear about hating Trump and more COVID shots. And just like, this is insanity. This is insanity. It's much easier for me to listen to the pro-Trump guy because he's not coming at me with hatred. He's not. Now, I'm not saying all Trump people are like that. I'm just talking about my neighbors. So no one get all worked up with me about this. But how do you deal with politics in the modern age? You vote. You talk to your representatives who should want to hear from you because they need your vote. But then, of course, we have a system that is so broken, and there's just Washington, D.C. is full, I'll say this, of crooks and lobbyists and people who want power and abuse power. And it's just an insane place. It's an insane place. My daughter, she just got off the plane this afternoon in Washington, D.C. She's spending the summer there. And she's like, just immediately, she just feels just the tension in the air. So she's coming from just like Durango, Colorado, kind of sunny little hippie town in the mountains. And she's in D.C. She's just like, boom. Can feel that tension in the air, right versus left, right versus left. Right versus left will not work. It will not work. We just go back and forth and have these swings of this and that. The only way our world will heal is not because the left dominates or because the right dominates. Domination is not how we live together as a very diverse country. Now, Colorado used to do a great job of having a mix of hardcore Republican ranchers and hippies. Colorado used to do a pretty good job of. Now we're pretty far left, and so there's some political turmoil in our state. But it was nice when I used to call it a purple state, and I loved saying that because we'd have strong Republicans, strong Democrats, and they'd come together and they work things out. And we used to have a balanced budget, and they used to send out checks at the end of the year. It's hilarious. They sent out checks to the citizens saying, hey, we balanced the budget. We had extra money. Here's a check. Last check I got was $1,400. The state of Colorado, we had a balanced budget. But now, we've had a mostly Democrat dominate control, and we're crazy in debt. Crazy in debt because Democrats like to spend lots of money on social programs, which I absolutely believe in. Absolutely believe in. But sometimes we overspend. And then, we can complain about the right. Well, the right's always going off to war. Now it's hard to say who goes off to war. It seems like everyone wants to go off to war. So ultimately, how do I respond to politics? I show up, I do my best, I listen to both sides. I listen. And I make a decision from listening. But I'm not going to go next door to my neighbor who supports Trump and says, you're a fool. He's a narcissist. He's a rapist. He's this, he's that. And I'm not going to go to my neighbor on the left and say, sleepy Joe Biden, he does this, he does that. He's, spent all the money on COVID or whatever it is. He's lying to us. He's doing this. Hunter Biden. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to listen to all sides, and I'm going to come into my heart, and I'm going to vote according to my heart. But I'm not going to go in the streets, and I'm not going to protest. Now, you may choose to do that. You may feel great about that. I've done a lot of protesting. But at this stage in the journey, I see protesting as the same as fighting. And that's me. You may disagree with that, and that's okay. This is a beautiful free country. Please do so. Please disagree. Speak your truth. Follow your truth. Live your truth. But if you want to live in a sane world, not a divided world, if you want to live in a sane world, you must look from the vast view. You must be strong enough to listen to all your neighbors, your friends, your family, not just say, they're a narcissist. They're a narcissist. Like, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Guess what happened with Donald Trump? He came back. He came back. He came back. And this boy, if you want to talk about resilience, you can't kill him. He got shot. He got shot. The Democrats threw everything they could at him to try to get rid of him, try to ignore him, try to laugh about him getting shot. And it only made the right stronger. It only made them stronger. So if this world is going to heal, we have to come to the middle. We have to come to the middle. It's like if you want to be in a loving relationship with someone who's disagreeing with you, you have to come to the middle. If you want a loving relationship with mom and dad, most of us are going to have to forgive mom and dad and actually listen to their story, listen to their childhood. I know my mom and my dad are the way they are because of their upbringing, because of their culture, because of what they lived through. And I can forgive them, and I have understanding, and I don't take it so personally. And I don't call them neglectful narcissists or alcoholics, this and that. I mean, sometimes I've said some things, as teaching examples, but ultimately in my heart, I love them and I listen to them and I respect them. I respect them. And if we want this to be a loving world, we cannot lead with hatred. And I've heard it so often, the left will say, oh, but we're standing up for women's rights. The right is saying the same thing. They're standing up for women's and young girls' rights. That's what they say. They're standing for peace. That's what they say. And we can shake our heads, say no, and laugh and this and that and be smug. But that's not going to heal our country. Not going to heal our country. It's not going to heal our world. Now, the greatest sin that we're all hardwired to commit all day long is we have a brain that's hardwired for duality. If we want to be free, if we want to be awake, we have to move beyond duality. We have to move beyond tribalism and tribal politics. We have to make an evolutionary step and see ourselves as one world that includes all. And one of my most favorite scenes that happened, from a volunteer at our local Catholic church is, when the identity politics got real nasty, when all the Black Lives Matters protests were going on and this and that, a fella came in with a hat that said, all lives matter. And boy, did the left just lose their mind. You see everyone in the room who voted, Democrat, who just hated this man. And he's just saying, all lives matter. That's all I'm saying. All lives matter. All lives matter. And of course, if we have a vast view, we can see, okay, of course, there's been certain groups that have been ostracized, that have been hurt, that have been beat up. Of course, we need to honor them. Of course. Of course. But while we're honoring them, we can't make, let's have some fun here. Whitey Pete from Minnesota, we can't make him wrong. We can't make him wrong for being white. If we do so, he's going to revolt. He's going to revolt. He's going to revolt. If you tell someone they're wrong, this is true just with parenting. You tell a kid they're wrong constantly, they're going to fight back. They're going to fight back. But if we learn to listen to each other first, and if we lead by example, we might learn what makes our neighbors tick. We might learn why they vote the way they do. And when we listen to them, they might start listening to us. And now we're talking about a community. Now we're talking about growth. Now we're talking about the possibility for unity. But if I'm good and you're bad, you're going to revolt against me. And we're going to continue to argue, and we're going to continue to fight. Now, the last thing I'll say, and I want to say this quickly, and I want to be done. And please, I want everyone to understand, I do my best around this topic, and I screw it up. I drop the ball. I get confused. But the one way we could all take responsibility is just to look at the food that we eat. And in this case, I'm talking about the media we ingest. Because right now, it is a funny world to live in. A funny world to live in. I know people that when Trump was elected, felt like I felt when Obama was elected. They're just like walking on water, just like living in this world, like everything is great. We finally saved the day. They made it. We made it. Hooray for America. And of course, people would feel doom and gloom and this and that. But we have to really look at our input. Because, we can say this from a variety of levels, but, elections and all this kind of stuff, like there's so much rigging in it just because there's so much lobbying. So that's just a given. But the news we listen to, the things we ingest, condition our reality. Condition our reality. The news that this man listened to was all is God. 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 Now that's the news that I plug into. All is God. All is God. But when we listen to corporate news media, we must understand that media has been bought and paid for, whether it's by big pharma, whether it's by big oil, whether it's by, crappy processed foods, whether it's a military industrial complex, it's bought and paid for. And those little talking heads on the TV, they don't speak the truth. They speak division all day, every day. They don't report. They have opinions all day, every day that are greatly skewed one way or the other. Greatly skewed. And at some point, we have to be honest and see, I am drinking Coca-Cola every day of my life. And so my teeth are rotting. My waist is large, whatever it is that happens to you when you drink Coca-Cola all day long. When we listen to cable news, it rots our mind. It rots our mind. But the thing that it does for us emotionally is it helps us to feel a part of a tribe. But my question to all of us is, are you a political being, or are you a being who's waking up out of politics? Are you waking up out of a tribal identity? Or are you looking for a good club? Politics is a great club if you want to feel like garbage and feel angry all the time. If you want to have someone to hate. It's just like sports. I watched the Stanley Cup last week. My team, who was my team last week? Florida Panthers. Well, I choose the Panthers instead of the Edmonton Oilers because I'm an American and that's my tribe. I wanted the Americans to win. It's so stupid. At the end of the day, I can see it's just like, I didn't care that much. Who I really wanted to win was the Washington Capitals. They're my favorite team with Alex Ovechkin. It's like, why do I like them? I have no idea. I just like Alex Ovechkin, beautiful Russian player. I don't know why I like Alex Ovechkin so much, but I love the Capitals. They got beat out. Am I going to be okay? Yeah. Do I get that worked up about sports? No. Am I going to get that worked up about politics? No. Carolyn Mace said it great. I was so happy to hear this out of Carolyn Mace. She's been like a lifelong diehard Democrat, like blue, no matter who. She's absolutely hated the Republican Party for as long as, I've heard her teach. She goes on and on. She has to make rules and boundaries like I do about not speaking about politics. But she said this beautiful thing. I was so happy to hear her say it because all she does is rag on the right. But finally, she said this in one of her latest teachings is she said, I'm coming to realize it might not matter who is in party, which party's in control, excuse me. Because she was acknowledging it just seems like corporate greed, big pharma, the military industrial complex has bought and paid for Washington, has bought and paid for the media. And they're just going to do what they do. They're just going to do what they do. And just like, if you've ever heard a great awakened teacher talk about sports, oftentimes they say sport is a great distraction. Great distraction for people to plug in their tribal dynamic. And they can just argue with each other while, the evil Illuminati who rule the world can take over. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. The aliens, which are the bad aliens, I don't know. Is it the Greys or is it the lizard people? Who knows? But so the Illuminati can take over. So just give us sports. We'll have something to argue about and fight about. Because humans are, I'll say this, so stupid that we continue to believe in shouting and yelling and blaming. And if this world will ever change, it's not because we say, hell no, we won't go. It's because all of us individually choose to live a life of truth, a life of love, a life of peace. And I often remind us we might have one vote every 4 years. Sometimes it's every 6 years. Sometimes it's every 2 years. But we certainly have a vote every single day with every dollar we spend. With every dollar we spend. With every dollar we spend. That is our true vote. Is that at the end of the day, here on planet Earth, love rules planet Earth. It's not very apparent, though. It's not very apparent. If we want it to become manifest, we have to choose to vote with a dollar. And that's why I eventually stopped handwriting letters to politicians about factory farms and started supporting my local farmer and growing my own food and putting my thoughts, my words, my actions, my money in alignment with that which I see as the truth. I look at politicians as a lost cause, as a comedy, as a circus. But do I vote? Of course. I'm not going to tell anyone here how to vote. I'm just going to tell, vote in alignment with your highest truth. And by all means, if you want to protest, if you want to go out in the streets, if you think everything I'm saying is crazy, do so. Do so. And when you're there and you feel all that energy and that rawness and that emotion, I want you to ask yourself, am I in the truth or am I in tribal consciousness? And if you are in the truth, I ask you this, is this effective and is anyone listening? Is anyone listening? The way this material world listens is actually through our actions, not so much through our words, but to our actions. Is humanity willing to live with each other and find peace and connect from a place of love and listen with compassion and try to understand the other? Or are we still the 12 tribes of Israel or whatever it was from the Bible? I can't remember how that went. But are we just these tribes that are just going to continue to war with each other? The first step in ending war is sitting down with the enemy and saying, no, 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 you speak first. Let's hear what you have to say. I'm deeply and honestly going to listen without judgment, without making you wrong, without othering you. I'm going to listen because I know this is how we spread peace here on planet Earth. And I don't care if we're talking about politics, we're talking about relationship, if we're talking about having a Sangha. Sometimes we hurt each other's feelings here in the Sangha. If we're talking about being a part of any kind of community, are you going to be the bigger person? You're going to be a Christ-like person? You're going to be a Buddha? You're going to be a goddess? Or are you just going to say, I'm right, you're wrong. I'm leading with righteousness. I'm leading with righteousness. I know I'm right. I know you're a narcissist. I know you're wrong. That doesn't do anything for our world. What it does is it creates division. It creates great division. When any form of healing work and any form of awakening work, we let go of our identity. We let go of our way, our agenda. And we listen. And we make peace. And we make love. The things that scare us, the things that frighten us, the things that we don't understand, the things that confuse us, the things that disturb us, the things that haunt us. We make peace with our rage, our feeling of victimization, our feelings of wanting to kill and destroy. We make peace with it internally, and we share that peace with the world. Now, nowhere in the political spectrum do I see that. But I will say this. And please, I don't want anyone getting upset because it's just people get so damn offended in this sphere. But I talked about this during the election when J.D. Vance and Tim Walz had a debate. I thought it was beautiful because they agreed on a lot of things. On a lot of things. On a lot of things. And that really made me smile. I said, oh, maybe there's some hope here. These two boys, two ends of the spectrum, could agree on some things. If our world's going to change, if we're going to do it in a political sphere, we have to work together. Ultimately, I'm going to put the responsibility on each of us. If this world will ever transform, it's going to be because we choose love over our own ideology, our own conditioning, our own righteousness. We choose love. We choose love. So please, if I offended anyone, if I seemed like I was leaning one way or the other, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And I love you and I respect you. I respect your perspective. I do. I do. It's hard to be human. One of the things my mom said to me, she said, Craig, being married's really hard. Being human's really hard. Having a community is really hard. But there's a way to make it work, and there's a way to destroy it. And we have to ask ourselves, like, which side am I going to be on? Which side? The way that attempts to make it work, the side that extends an olive branch, or am I going to play the blame game with my tribe? As spiritually awakening beings, we choose to step out of tribalism and choose to step into the truth. Into the truth, not a righteous truth, a unifying truth. A unifying truth. So much love to all of you. Let us close our eyes and let us pray for world peace. Let us pray for our leaders, that their hearts, their minds, their bodies are flooded with love, that they choose to come to the table of peace, the table of healing, the table of awakening to a true new age. Oh Lord God, please come into the hearts, all of our leaders, and fill them with forgiveness, with kindness, with compassion, with truth. Lord God, give us the strength to listen, to open in times of darkness and times of pain. Give us the strength to love all the places where we want to run. Where we want to run, where we want to hide, where we want to lash out. Give us the strength to choose the highest way. Thank you all so much. So much love and respect to each of you. Good night, everyone. Good to be with you.